Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Corpse Party Book of Shadows. In the previous installment, we saw two wrong endings, and then the game reminded us that it is, in fact, a visual novel, so that gameplay might have to wait. We're watching Miss Yui's side story, or backstory, I should say, and she went back into her house after meeting that creepy old woman who told her bad things were going to happen, and finding out that woman died. So she passed out in her room, as we see here. So we're continuing from right where we left off. Loves those pandas. Still has panda pajamas. I awoke with a start. The air in my room had gotten notably cooler and I was shivering. Rubbing my eyes, I glanced at my clock. The needles indicated it was 6:45. It was black outside my window, streaked with lines from the still pouring rain. Sunny for my exam. The weight of what the next day held for me came rushing into my mind. I'd practiced the interview process with my teachers quite thoroughly, but I was still really nervous. There was still a little time before dinner. My mind swimming, I decided I'd take this opportunity to clean out all the notes and textbooks I wouldn't need tomorrow from my bag. Oh, for God's sake. 15 minutes before 7 o'clock. Go back into the school. Good job, Yui. Ugh.
お母さん、私ちょっと学校に忘れ物取りに行ってくる。
え？もうすぐご飯できるわよ。
すぐ戻るから。
そう。雨も降っているし、気をつけていくのよ。
あの鉛筆は絶対に明日試験会場へ持っていかなければならないものの一つだった。だから私は迷うことなく学校に戻る道を選んだ。降りしきる雨の中、足元に気を配りながら全速力で走る。走っている間、ちらりと頭をよぎるのは起きた時の時間だった。
Yeah, remember, the ghost comes out at 7.
6時45分。七不思議で語られていた時間は夜の7時。校門前に着いて真っ先に時間を確認した。校舎についている大時計が指し示す時間は6時55分。放課後の吉江さんの怪談話が再び頭をよぎる。10月、雨が降る放課後、夜7時。あのおばあちゃん、もしかしてこうなるのが分かっていて。やだな、もう。階段なんてあんなの作り話だって。こみ上げてくる恐怖を抑えつけるために声を出して自分を叱咤する。見上げた校舎に人影はない。こんな時間なら生徒はもう帰宅しているだろうし、先生だってどれくらい残っているのか。けれど廊下の電気はまだ全てついていた。あれだけ明るければそこまで怖い思いをしなくても教室まで行けるだろう。
You ever actually go into a school in the evening, like when the lights are out? It is kind of freaky.
よし、パッと行ってパッと済ましちゃおう。
I folded up my soaked umbrella and left it on the rack by the entrance, then changed into my indoor shoes. Then, entering the brightly lit hall, I took another look around.
やっぱり生徒は誰も残ってないみたい。
My deep sigh echoed through the deathly silent corridor. Ordinarily, the din of other students would drown out noises like this, but every little sound was coming through crystal clear at this late hour.
急がなくちゃ。もうすぐ7時だ。
I quickly beelines toward classroom 3-4.
今朝のおばあさんね。さっき亡くなったみたい。
Mm-hmm.
その天神小学校で放課後校舎の見回りをしていた女の先生が誤って階段から落ちて死んだんだって。
But even so, like, why would she care about Yui? Who is she?
その日は10月のちょうど今日みたいに雨が降る放課後で、時刻はそう夜の7時を過ぎたあたり。こういう日は吉江さんが出るんだって。天神小学校がなくなってしまったことに気づいていない吉江さんは如月学園の廊下を見回って歩いているんだよ。もう何考えてるのよ私。七不思議なんで司くんも言ってたじゃない。深く考えない方がいいって。
Now, I said this during the previous installment, but Miss Yui herself played the role of that teacher just to spook the kids at the very beginning of Corpse Party 1. So, I doubt anything's gonna happen, because otherwise she'd take that story way more seriously. Lightning flashed and thunder resounded with impeccable timing. I jumped in spite of myself.
とにかくパッと教室に行ってペンケース取ってこなくちゃ。
No ghosts should show up in a well-lit building like this, right? Unless it's the Grudge. And even if they did, they wouldn't be very scary under all these bright lights. Unless it's the Grudge.
あのペンケースに入ってる鉛筆は明日の試験にどうしても必要なの。だってあれは司くんがくれたお守りなんだもの。
I picked up the pace and continued to head straight for room 3-4. I'm still not buying it.
中等部の方はもう真っ暗だな。やっぱり誰もいないのね。それにしても今日はいつもよりこの廊下が長い感じがする。ただでさえこの廊下で遅刻しそうになるくらいなのに。
I continued my brisk walk down the impossibly long hallway toward my goal, jumping every now and again whenever another thunderclap sounded. Kisaragi Academy was comprised of both a middle school and a high school, and this evening it really felt like it was flaunting its massive size. Didn't help that my classroom was in the high school wing, which happened to be past the middle school, making it seem that much farther away.
いつもは賑やかな場所がこんなにも静まり返っていると余計に物寂しい気がするな。
You're telling me you should see the elementary school.
雨の音がやけに大きく聞こえるよ。
I was focusing on the scant few sounds around me as I paced down that long, lonely corridor. Then, all of a sudden, I heard a faint noise, as of someone playing an organ. An organ?
今の空耳だよね。そうに決まってるよ。
A piano I'd buy, but an organ?
こんな時間に音楽室で楽器を鳴らす人なんているわけないし。
Do they have an organ at the high school? Like Heavenly Host at a piano? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. It was probably the sounds of the rain, wind, and thunder mixing together. It just sounded like an organ, that's all. If you say so. I was convinced. I kept walking. But then I heard the same noise again, this time much more clearly. It was unmistakable. A thunderstorm pretending to be an organ. That sounds kind of nice.
嘘。やだ。
I was paralyzed with fear. I wasn't the only student doing after-school stuff in this building. My heart was pounding as if it were struggling to break free of someone's sinister grip.
きっとまだ吹奏楽部の子とか先生が残って弾いてるんだよね。そうだ。そうに決まってるよ。
Thinking about it, I vaguely recalled someone mentioning an upcoming performance by the Wind Instrument Club. I guess an organ would qualify. You know, I never thought about that. I mean, the piano surprises people in that it's not a string instrument so much as a percussion instrument, but I never really considered the organ being a wind instrument. That's kind of cool. Somebody must have just stayed late to practice, that's all.
何でもかんでも怖い話に直結させちゃいけないな。
And I'm standing around and thinking about it and waiting till past 7 anyway. I took another deep breath and tried, again, to calm my overly jittery nerves. Yes, spoiler alert, this is a flashback. She lives.
怖いと思ったら何でも怖く思えるものだよね。
Marshmallows? You didn't think that'd be scary. But then Ghostbusters happened. I'd heard that if you let your imagination run too wild, fear can even make you see things that aren't there. Huh. Here it comes. And my imagination was most definitely running wild.
あとちょっとで教室だから走っていこう。
I decided to dash toward my classroom so I could get out of this hall as quickly as possible. That was a cool transition. Finally, reaching that familiar door, I swiftly opened it and flicked on the lights.
やっとたどり着いた。あとはペンケースを忘れないようにしなくちゃ。
And then ghosts come out. No, Yui, it's our pen case now. Thanks to all my unexpected pauses to freak out over thunder and lightning, it took me far longer than it should have to get here. I was gonna say it was already well past 7.
7時か。
It was the appointed time, when the ghost of a teacher was supposed to appear, at least according to the school legend.
何もないじゃない。
And even if there were, I mean, I know that the story's supposed to sound scary, but like, if she thinks she's a teacher wandering the hallways, what's she gonna do to you? Yell at you for being there at 7? I let out a sigh of relief and relaxed my shoulders a bit. The lights were on both inside the classroom and out in the hallway. Sure, it was still dead silent, but the fear I'd been feeling had completely melted away.
全然怖くないよ。やっぱり七不思議だなんて嘘だったんだな。
This 7 wonder, or this wonder isn't real. The other 6, ooh. I grabbed the pen case I'd come back for and shoved it into my pocket. Good.
よし、これで任務完了だね。
With my long ordeal behind me, more or less, I looked around the classroom and let out another sigh. I'd only ever known this classroom when it was bustling with activity, and thus found its eerie silence and utter stillness to be oddly fascinating.
教室に私一人ってなんだか不思議な感じがするな。
I got the idea in my head to try doing something I normally wouldn't be able to do, like standing at the teacher's podium writing on the blackboard. Tee-hee.
こんなシチュエーションめったにないし。
Tomo is a jerk. The chalkboard phantom. Ha! This'll blow their minds tomorrow morning. To me, the area behind that podium from which teachers conduct their lessons was like a sacred space. I dreamed of standing there myself one day, and could hardly resist its pull when presented with a rare opportunity like this. You know, I easily see the draw of being a teacher, but... okay.
今なら誰も見てないし。
To my classmates, this would seem like such a silly, stupid dilemma, but that didn't change the way I felt at that moment.
どうしようかな。
I guess I'll see? What the hell? Oh, friggin' no. I'll stand on the podium. What do you want?
よし、少しだけ先生の気分を味わっちゃえ。
I guess. Let's see if this comes back to bite me magically. I decided I had to try it. During daily cleanup and such, I'd come and gone from the spot countless times. Today, ooh, today would be different. But this was the first time I'd ever had an opportunity to just stand there and preside over the classroom.
そうか。先生からはこんな風に見えるんだ。教室って。なんかちょっとドキドキする。
Gaining a teacher's point of view, in the most literal sense, was starting to get me really fired up. It may seem silly now, but this was my stage. This was where all my dreams would play out.
私もいつか。
I began to imagine the future that awaited me, painstakingly detailing some new piece of knowledge for students sitting attentively at their desks, gliding chalk across the board, filling it with information to aid them in their studies.
いつか先生になれるといいな。
I was getting so excited that even I began to think my behavior was a little strange. Yeah. Like, again, I really, really get it, but jeez. Maybe it was the juxtaposition of these joyous, freeing visions and the prickling dread I'd been feeling up until just a minute or two before. But then, in the blink of an eye, one of these two conflicting emotions completely overpowered the other. What? Huh. Suddenly, my surroundings were bathed in darkness. Going stiff with shock, I stumbled back a step. My back struck the blackboard with a dull thud. I instinctively grabbed hold of the rail where the eraser sat. I would erase this blackout from existence, I swear to God. I felt chalk dust against my fingertips. By the way, I hate that feeling. I can't abide it. My panicked heartbeat was making it difficult to breathe. Was this caused by the thunderstorm? If so, it sure picked a fine time to turn the lights out on me. Guess you're not a wind instrument after all. Jesus. Was this what the old woman was trying to warn me about? That's impossible. She was no fortune teller or psychic as far as I was aware. How could she possibly have known this would happen? Hell, even if she were a fortune teller or a psychic, predicting the future is the stuff of science fiction. I shook my head. I'm still wondering if that old woman was Yui, but again, Yui died in Corpse Party at, like, 20-something, so what? I curled my chalk-dusted fingers into a fist and silently tried to talk some sense into myself. I shouldn't have been playing teacher. I should have been in and out by now. Yeah, also dinner. Cursing myself a little, I fumbled my way through the darkened classroom. I'd spent so much time in here you'd think I'd be able to find my way out of it with my eyes closed. As it were. Oh, yeah. But sadly, that wasn't the case. Smashing loudly into a desk, I knocked it on its side and began tumbling after it, instinctively grabbing at other desks around me for support. You know, banging into a desk kinda hurts. Ooh. That really sucks, actually. Still fumbling around blindly, I gathered up all the scattered notes, textbooks, and writing utensils. So this game has used spritz and klutz. I wonder if she's going to wipe the schmutz off of her fingers with a schmata. I let out a sigh. I seem to be doing that a lot lately. I was trying to take inventory of all the things I'd knocked out of the desk, then realized why. I might as well just stand it up and stuff it all back in. Yeah. Not that that was a particularly pleasant prospect. Explaining what I'd done wouldn't be easy, and no matter how I sugarcoated it, it would serve as a clear indication of my clumsiness. Dude, whatever! You came back to pick up something, the lights went out and you couldn't see and you knocked something over. That's like... there's nothing even to laugh about for that. If I didn't say anything, it's not like I'd be found out, but that would be the same as lying as far as I'm concerned, and I couldn't do that. Whatever! You knocked something over. The world keeps spinning. Whatever. I placed my hand against the floor and swept around, feeling for anything I might have missed. And I found something all right. A severed hand. Really? I'd clearly brushed my fingers across something, but I had no idea what. It was no notebook or writing implement, though, that's for sure. Maybe it had been on the floor all along. Stuff. So it's not like a thing you could pick up and hold? I rubbed my sticky fingertips a bit deeper into the wet spot, then brought my hand up close to my face so I could get a better look at what was there. Maple syrup, you sly devil! What on earth did I just touch? There was a flash of lightning, almost immediately joined by a roaring thunderclap. Oh, that means the storm was like right overhead. And with it, for a split second, the pitch black classroom was lit up as bright as day. Oh my god. I didn't expect that. I mean, I kind of thought her hand might have touched blood, but that was crazy. I shot to my feet, utterly mortified. My god, I knocked over a desk and I did all this? I was wrong, I am a total klutz. In that split second, I'd gotten a very good look at my fingers, and it really did seem as if they were covered in blood. But it wasn't just my hand. No, if my peripheral vision were to be trusted, it looked like the entire classroom was stained a deep dark crimson. Which was creepy, by the way, because she came into the classroom when it was light. I mean, it would have been creepy anyway, honestly, but the blood was clearly not there when she walked in like a minute ago. I was seriously thinking, like, somehow someone brought in ketchup or something, but no, if it smells like blood, that's very distinctive. Without thinking, I backed away from where I'd been crouching. You don't back away anywhere in situations like this, because you're going to bump into something and then the jump scare happens. I tried rationalizing what I saw. How could a whole classroom become a bloodbath like this? Did something spill? Did someone stumble in here injured and roll over all of the desks? My whole body was quaking. I fled from the classroom. Or rather, I tried to flee. Really? Serious? What the? Okay. Again, this is a flashback. She gets out of this. So what the hell am I even playing? Like, what crazy situation happened back then? I pulled on the door handle again and again in a frenzy. I was pulling so hard I felt like my fingernails might tear loose. Ew. But it just wouldn't budge. Whatever, it's just a gross room. Stay the night. You got school tomorrow. I'll be fine. I was absent-mindedly grabbing at my hair with one hand and slammed my fist on a nearby desk with the other. This was a nightmare. Silence saturated the inky blackness of the room. I took several deep breaths in an effort to restrain my pounding heart. I don't know, man. If you smell blood... I was certain that when I saw what it actually was come morning, it'd end up being something totally random, like someone's old soda-stained gym clothes. That smell like blood. Paint mixed with copper? My imagination was just running wild because I was panicking. I decided to check out that hypothesis, she really is a friggin' school teacher, by feeling my way across the door and determining if anything was jutting out from any of the cracks. It's just like Silent Hill. The door's locked. You do have the key. Oh, sorry. You need to light up the room so you can see. So you can find the lock by touch. Sorry. I fumbled around the gaps in the door, but I just couldn't make anything out that way. Well, you got 100 windows. I don't know what floor you're on, but if you're on the first floor, then do that. No. Okay. It was the third floor. Never mind. Excuse me. I couldn't get out of here without exiting into the hallway. Still at a loss, I noticed a sudden flash of light through the hallway window. But the glass was only translucent, so I couldn't be sure of its source. Then there came the distinctive clump, clump, clump of footsteps. I gotta say, I did not think that it would go in this direction. As long as there's not the custodian from White Day, I think we'll be okay. I recalled the existence of a custodian who always patrolled the school grounds. I'm sure he was probably taking a look around after the sudden power outage. All at once, my fear-addled legs regained their strength. This nightmare would soon be over.
Sumimasen!
I shouted to the custodian at the top of my lungs through the window.
Sumimasen! Tojikomerarete desu!
I had to be sure he heard me. I shouted again. Finally, I could see the light out in the hallway again, and it seemed to be getting closer. I cannot wait to see what this is going to be. However... Skosh! Perturbed, I took a step away from the window. Again, we're using awesome vocabulary in this game. I gotta make a list of something. What was it? Burgle, kempt, perturbed, behest. A candle. Like the faint, unearthly glow, classically attributed to spirits. Okay, it's a blue light, I guess. What was I thinking? I tried to stop myself from finishing that thought, however. Dullness aside, it also looked like it was wriggling around in a very unnatural, very unflashlight-like way. Is it a will-o'-the-wisp? 4 clumps, then a 3 or so second interval, then another 4 clumps. Hey, spirit, if you can understand me, clump twice. They were sounding in a fixed rhythm. Well, no, some people walk like that. If you're on Arrakis, then you want to adjust your footstep rhythm so the sandworms don't get you. The fear was back, in full force. I had to find somewhere to hide. What if I'd accidentally summoned something inhuman? I mean, whatever that was, I begged it for help. I literally invited it in. You should not have played with powers you did not understand, Yui. You should not have stood at the teacher's desk. You were not ready for such responsibility. Okay. You know, I'm starting to think that this is the chapter. Which means... alternate save file. Well, the teacher's podium isn't really a thing you hide behind because it's not concealed, so, I hurriedly squeezed myself into the metal locker where the classroom's cleaning supplies were kept. It was still pitch black in the room, so I really couldn't spare the time it would take to remove its contents. Instead, I just contorted myself to fit. That sounds really difficult, even for someone like me, and I'm a frickin' rubber band. Seriously, contorting yourself into a full supply closet, that is a feat. The locker was thick with the smells of mold and varnish. Mold? So I waited. I waited for the footsteps to pass by and fade into the distance, signaling that it was safe to emerge. Still, it felt a lot safer in the locker than it did out in the room. But the footsteps weren't receding. They were just getting louder, closer, faster, better, harder, stronger. Jam into the groove, man. Does it involve into rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat? Okay. Alright. And then they came to a sudden halt. That would be me. They were close, just outside the locker. I peered through the ventilation holes. Amidst the utter darkness of the classroom, there wasn't a soul to be seen. Except for this soul going by, you know, is literally a ghost. I'm not sure why I believe that. Maybe because I needed to. Maybe because it was so dark, or because I felt so much calmer in such a tight space where nothing could possibly sneak up behind me. I didn't know why, and I didn't care. I just knew that as far as I was concerned, I was safe in here. So I stood motionless and cramped, and I waited. I didn't have to wait long. I hope that wasn't the supply closet door. Suddenly apprehensive, oh boy. I gently nudged the supply closet door to make sure it was still open for me when I wanted it to. Ah, that sucks. I mean, you can still get out of this tomorrow morning, but that sucks.
見つけた。
Who are you? Could that be Sachiko? If so, this makes no goddamn sense. I let out a sudden yelp at this unknown voice and tried with all my might to push open the door, blocking my escape.
嘘！開かない！開けて！開けてってば！まだ残ってるの？
That doesn't sound like Sachiko.
居残りしてた罰よ。
I guess it's supposed to be Yoshie. That wasn't any of the 3 kids, was it? I don't think so. Also, Yoshie was a woman anyway. There was that female teacher. There was a brief moment of silence following the eerie voice's unsettling proclamation. And then... Oh. The metal walls around me on all 4 sides began warping inward as if the supply locker had been somehow fed into a trash compactor. What the hell? There was no force I could imagine that should have been able to do this, but it was happening. This already confined space was steadily closing in on me. Am I, like, losing Miss Yui's fever dream? How does this even work? The collapse of the locker all around me continued, slowly and steadily. Slow crushing has got to be one of the worst ways to die. I could feel all manner of things pushing and cutting into my body. Ugh. My vision went bright red. One of the blood oh god, and my eyes probably burst from the pressure. I wasn't going to last much longer. Please don't describe things like that again, thank you. The ventilation holes in the locker door were now pressed right up against my face, and through them I could just barely make out the figure of a person. Is this Sachiko? Because who? It was the old woman? Really? She was standing outside the slat staring into my eye? What? It was the last sight I would ever see as the locker finally, inevitably, smashed into my skull. Crash, crunch, crack, splat. Ugh. Question marks? Is it not the old one? What? Oh, alright! I got a wrong ending in the visual novel part of the game. Jesus. Oh, 2! So if I did something other than stand at the podium earlier, I would have gotten a different wrong end. It's the first thing I'm doing next time. Okay. Well, that's actually a pretty perfect stopping point, as grim as that was, where Miss Yui died before the events of the first game even happened. What? So, for now, I'm going to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? It turns out that we've actually really been playing the chapter the entire time. It hasn't been some sort of lead-up into the gameplay portion. Chapter 3 is a visual novel chapter. So it seems, anyway. I don't even know if we're going to make it to Heavenly Host before the end of this. So I don't know if I know what to make of this, because I really, really, really did not want to see whatever fate befalls Miss Yui in the elementary school. I really was not looking forward to that. So the flashback is actually good, because it indicates, you know, she has to get out of that in order to die in the school. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she's going to make it to the school at some point in the game, but I hope Chapter 3 does not involve that, because you know everything's probably going to be more or less alright. So this is just more of a morbid curiosity chapter for me. Let's see what other things we can uncover. Until next time, everyone.